Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After our adventure in Elder Sign earlier this morning, we're all set to play Twilight Inscription by Fantasy Flight Studios. This one is a roll and write set in the Twilight Imperium universe, where you're trying to beat your high score. We've got 4 sheets to do that. We'll go through each sheet as it becomes relevant during the game. But before we jump in and start setting the scene, as promised, we'll take a look at today's die from the advent calendar without the green screen causing problems behind us. So here's the actual die. You can see there where the symbol is actually the 6 on the die. And of course it's a 1, and the contrast on this is absolutely horrible to read. But we'll put it through the dice tower and see that it goes through just fine. Which the dice for Twilight Inscription should as well. Maybe a little bit of coaxing, but I've got a dice tray off shot just in case I lose my patience with these dice, because they are fairly big. But let's meet our faction that we're playing as tonight. We are playing as the Naz-Roka Alliance. Special ability is Fabrication. After the dice are rolled, you may treat one focus die as unlocked until the end of the round. To do so, you must spend a number of votes equal to the number of resources showing on that die. The guild ship is Distant Suns. On navigation, choose a circle and choose a claimed relic system and unclaim it. Erase the circle. You may also erase its victory point value. Then choose one of your relic cards and shuffle it into the relic deck. We've got a little bit of a story here. The Naz and Roka have become such firm, almost symbiotic partners that anyone would think they had evolved together. But until the diminutive Naz reached out to the dispossessed Roka, they had no shared history at all. If the Naz hadn't requested the aid of Roka warriors to resist the latest in a centuries-long line of colonial invaders, neither species would be as well off as they are. The Roka had been dispossessed mercenaries ever since the Twilight Wars. With their physical gifts and experience in warfare, supported by Naz technology and ingenuity, they freed the Naz, and then the Naz offered them a home. The Roka stayed, not as mercenaries, but as full partners. Naz and Roka society merged at every level. The typical Naz-Roka family is 2 couples. One Naz, one Roka. When an elected official steps down, even from the ruling tetrarchy, they must be replaced by a member of the other species, ensuring that there are no species-designated seats. The Naz-Roka alliance has been enormously beneficial to both specimens. It is only natural that such harmony and cooperation be shared within the galaxy. All right, and then each sheet comes with its own bonus for scoring. First up is Collector on navigation. Have 12 unclaimed systems. Gain 9 victory points if we get it first, or 5 if we get it second. Warfare has secured assets. Claim 6 asset nodes. 5 victory points if you do it first, 3 if you do it second. Then we've got Sourcing Expert. Have 10 scrapped spaces. 7 victory points if you get it first, 4 if you get it second. And finally, up on Expansion, we have Technocrat. Claim 1 of each specialty asset on Expansion. 7 victory points if you get it first, or 4 if you get it second. All right, I think on that note, we are all set to get into this game, so let's jump in. Well, maybe once we make each sheet active, we'll do a little bit of a close-up on what they're doing. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get our first event card up. And of course, it flips over that way. We've got a fledgling empire. So the way this game works is the speaker will flip up a card. Everyone will make a sheet active and spend the card's resources. Then the speaker will roll the dice and then will spend the dice resources. Daniel smiled softly, a rare occurrence these days to be sure. Glory to the Yin, my brothers. You have done us all proud. And looking at this, we are going to go ahead and make navigation active. So as promised, we'll do a quick close-up on navigation. Each sheet offers a different way to spend resources. In this case, the 2 blue gives us 2 claims of explored systems. And then pink and green resources let us explore an adjacent system. We've also got technology on here. So, I think with 2 claims in mind, I'm going to go ahead and claim this planet, and this technology resource, which I'll then move over to an industry and claim the first of that. So now we'll roll the dice. I was doing some testing earlier with this tower, and the dice should fit, but they'll need a little bit of coaxing. I do have a dice tray ready to go, just in case I lose patience with this tower, which seems like it's going to be likely to happen at some point. So yes, you can see the dice need a little bit of coaxing, but they go through. In the solo game, the AI's got a special Mechatol Rex sheet, which we'll use to determine their votes and their strength on the wars when we get to those. They get to use the special focus dice. So the 2 blue gives them progress toward... Actually, let me mark all of these up, and then I'll explain what they're all doing. All right, so the double blue die that they rolled here gives them access, starts them working on industry to get these goals before we get them. The pink die makes their war strength stronger when we get to the wars, and then the green die gives them progress toward eventual warfare, but they get to Mechatol Rex before that. So now we get to spend the black dice. Given that we're looking after relics, I want to be able to proceed to relics as fast as I can. So I think with that in mind, I think we're going to start moving toward Mechatol Rex with the 2 pink resources, what they would be. And I don't think I need to spend votes to be able to pay attention to the green die. So what I'll do here, let's see, 12 consecutive claimed systems. Excuse me. What do I want to do with these? Let's stick with our plan and start working our way over toward Mechatol Rex. So with that, I'm going to explore. Let's explore here and here. And I'll take a claim on this system. Or on that resource, that'll give me another technology resource. Then with the exploration, or with the planet that I've explored, what do I want to do with that? I can either unlock a new planet on expansion, or get access to a focus die resource for free. I'll think about what I want to do with that. I'm not going to do anything with it right this second. So that's it for the turn. So our next card coming up will be Echoes of the Past. This one gives us 1 of each. Harug gripped the straps of his pack tightly. Even in the blazing sun, he felt a chill run down his spine. The spirits of the dead roamed here. He could feel them. Let's see, with 1 of each, what to do? Let's, let's go ahead and let's make industry active. So this is where we get our votes. We start off with 2, along with having a counselor. This is also where we get our trade goods from, depending on how we do on these resources. So we could potentially gain a lot of trade goods on this sheet. I think with 1 of each, though, we have 2 claims from the blue and the green resource, and we have a scrap from the yellow. So I think with that in mind, I am going to claim a... Which circle resource do I want here? The guild ship doesn't seem to be all that useful until you get a relic. So I think here I'm going to just start working my way. I'm going to start with a claim there, which will give me that, and it'll give me a trade good. Then I've got another claim and a scrap. Let's go... let's go scrap, claim, because I'm probably going to need votes to be able to spend on focus dice. So let's see what we get here. I don't get that vote until a counselor event comes up, or until a council event comes up. All right, we will pull that through. Then on Rex, we'll go green, double pink, double blue. So now the Autumn is starting to make progress on navigation. And now we've got 3 pink resources, which are scraps. Let's go. I think we can scrap next to either one, but we can only claim adjacent to scraps. Let me double check that, though, on industry. And they cross out a space. So, yes. We can scrap next to adjacent to either, but we can only claim adjacent to scrapped. Let's see. So we want 10 scrapped spaces. Let's go scrap, scrap, scrap. That way I can get to a pair more counselors on an easy time. Which I would want I would want something that's giving me a fair amount of blue or green resources. Let's see what we come up with here on this next card. First Ventures. To be clear, Ty said flatly, you knew this ship had no weapons, no fuel, and faulty navigation when you purchased it. And yet, he gestured, here we are. Let's see, with a lot of yellow, or with a lot of pink resources, I should say. We do know that they're coming up on a strength of 2, so I think here we are going to make warfare active this time. This is where you build your ships for deployment in conflicts. So we've got options here to deploy infantry for any unit. PDSs can be deployed in this way. We could deploy a cruiser outright with the resources on the card, which might be where we're going with that. Then we can also deploy dreadnoughts or war suns, but we need to spend the technology to unlock those. So I think we are going to go ahead and deploy a cruiser outright. And then I'll put that down here. Which will also give me a victory point because I'm marking off a victory point asset. Let me just pull that up so you can see I'm deploying the cruiser down here, and because I claimed a victory point asset, I get to mark that off. Then we get to see what the dice say we're doing. And yes, it's not going to be too much longer, I don't think, before I lose my patience with the dice tower. I'm maybe going to give it one more roll, but it's definitely taking me more coaxing than I was expecting it to. So that's where the Automa sheet currently stands. We have 2 blue and another pink resource. So I think we'll use the 2 blues to deploy a PDS. And then I'll put that down here, which will give me another victory point asset. Mark those circles in a little bit better. Then I will deploy an infantry right here so I get another victory point. That's also giving me 3 of 6 asset nodes. All right, so let's see what our next event is. This one in stage 2. Toward a new home. We've got 3 pink again. Let's put the pink toward... Let's put the pink this time on industry. I've got 3 scraps, so let's go Let's go scrap, scrap, scrap. That way I've got a way to claim this blue focus die asset. And I need 10 scrapped spaces. I already have 7. So let's see what happens here on... I'm also going to see about putting these through one at a time. So we'll deal with the... That's not working much better. So I think we are going to bring the dice... We're going to bring the tower out of shot and bring the tray in shot instead. Which I'm going to put that down right here, I think. Okay. All right, so they get 1 of each. The blue die gives them another vote, also more strength on wars, and that gives them more progress toward Mechatol Rex. So we might want to get on our horse next time we get a lot of exploration and get over to Mechatol Rex as fast as we can. We also have, looks like we have 1 scrap and 2 claims. So I think for claims, I think for scrap, we're going to do this. And then with 2 claims, we're going to claim this blue focus die asset and 1 of these counselors. So now we can spend that blue focus die asset that we just picked up to be able to pay attention to the blue die on one of our sheets. Hey, Phoenix Knight, dinner's over. Time to watch this. Keep looking at this box to try it, but just don't know enough of it to trust myself to do it. Well, like you keep telling me, Jester, the only way to learn a game is to keep playing it for yourself. So, and a lot of it's going to come from repetition, where you'll start to figure out more. Okay, marking this off lets me do this on this other sheet. So a lot of it'll make sense the more you play it. Our next sheet, our next card, is time to convene the council. So we claim a vote on industry for each unlocked +1 icon on my industry chart. Then we flip and vote on the stage 2 agenda. The din of the council chamber faded as the speaker called for order. Today's session would be pivotal. The Caleres proclamation was to be signed into full effect. Kanaj smiled. A new chapter in his career would begin today. So on industry moving into this, we've got 3 votes unlocked, which means I'll circle 3 more of these boxes. For 1, 2, 3. So now I've got 5 votes on the agenda. And the voting in the solo game works a little bit different than it would in a multiplayer game. So the way it works, well, we'll go through it. We'll go through this first agenda nice and slow. And of course, Jester, if you have any questions on what I'm doing or anybody else in chat, feel free to stop me and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So our first card coming up, Population Controls. Pass. On expansion, each player chooses 5 unclaimed victory point assets in the population track and crosses them out. They must still be claimed to access higher victory point assets, but they're worth no victory points each. So this card doesn't have a star on it, which is relevant for the solo game. What that means is we need to go through the agendas for Act 2 until we find one that does have a star on it. So we'll start with this one up first. Okay, this one will work. Trade fleet subsidization. The player who casts the most fail votes chooses a commodity type. On navigation, each player claims one system that contains that commodity item, even if unexplored, and explores it from an adjacent system. Okay. Well, that would give me an orange triangle asset, which could be helpful on making progress. So the way voting works in the solo game is I can spend any number of votes that I want to. I could spend. Well, I've got to figure that because of where the solo player is, they're casting at least 2 votes because that's what they've got That's the last number they've got crossed off. So they're basically going to be casting 2 votes plus a die. The only way I can be sure I'm coming on over the top of that is if I cast all 5 of my votes now. But if I do, well, I'll get 3 votes on the new. I'll get 3 votes for every new agenda. The question is, how good is that trade fleet subsidization on navigation? On navigation, it would give me this asset because it's the only one from an. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I could take this blue asset, which wouldn't be a terrible idea either. The only problem is that doesn't take me toward Mechatol Rex, but I don't think any of these are really taking me toward Rex right now. So, well, we do have access to it. Let's see, giving me another blue asset wouldn't be a terrible idea either. So I think I will throw all 5 of my votes at this. Plus on industry, I can unlock another counselor soon enough anyway. I just need something that's giving me a lot of blue and or green resources. So I will spend, I'm going to spend at least 3. The question is, am I going to go all in on this? And I think the answer to that is going to be yes. So I will come completely over the top of that. That's probably a bad idea. So now that I've decided how many votes I'm casting, the Automa player will roll a black die, and they'll be casting 2 votes plus the result of the die, which is a blue die, so it's another 1 vote, which means they're casting 3 votes. That's not enough for them to stop the agenda from that's basically you check the total number of votes because I was able to cast more than the solo player. Essentially, I get the good effect of that. So on navigation, each player claims a system that contains that commodity, even if explored, and explores it from an adjacent system. So, yeah, I will go ahead and claim. So I'm going to take this blue asset. Let me bring it down so the glare isn't so bad. I'm going to take this blue asset right here, and I'm going to explore that from here. Now, giving me that blue asset lets me come over to my industry sheet, and it'll let me mark off it'll let me mark off the first blue asset on industry. So whenever I'm able to fill this row in, I'll unlock another +1 trade good that I'll get during the first trade event. So those agendas are now done, which means I can start to work those back toward the box. And then we'll get our next event. So let's see what we've got here. A strong foundation. Captain Ajero's sighed. The work was not what he had expected, not what he'd wanted, but it had to be done. There would be time for fighting later. And with 2 blues, that is actually 2 claims. That would be 2 claims on industry, which I will make active. So with 2 industry, I think that's going to be claim and yeah, we'll go claim. So what I'm marking off is I'm now marking off that aforementioned yellow asset that I was talking about earlier, which now will give me access to another trade good on trade events. So I'll fill that circle in. And then this one counts as a double blue asset, which means on industry, I can mark these 2 off. I can mark the next 2 of these off. So now I'm making progress on my industry chart toward another victory point. And I think here I will go ahead and spend the blue focus asset so that I can pay attention to the blue die while I'm on this sheet. The blue die is used by the Automa for their special dice, but I get to use it as well on occasion. At least when I'm on industry now, I get to use its resources as well. So now we'll bring the dice tray back into shot. I'll try to leave it in shot as best as I can. I was trying to use my big dice tower early with these dice, but these dice are just too damn big. Okay. So now, based on the focus die results, the Autumn is marking off another one of these, moving toward navigation. Then the blue die is actually doesn't do anything for them until we come out of stage 2. And then the green die gives them more progress toward Mechatol Rex. What I have coming out of this, though, are 2 scraps from the blues and 1 scrap from the black dice, and then I've got a claim here. But because I spent the blue focus asset on industry, I can pay attention to that as well. So I've actually got 2 scraps and 2 claims. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm actually going to get the sourcing expert, the bonus, for having 10 scrapped spaces. So let's see what I want to do here. Let's go... Let's go... I'm thinking what I want to do here. Let's go... Claim up here to give me access to another counselor, along with victory points on industry. So now because I unlocked the 4th counselor, I get the 3 victory points here. So that's one of the claims done. Then we'll go scrap here. So one of my scraps is done. I now have a scrap and a claim left. Let's go claim a pink focus die asset, and we will scrap this blue, which also gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So because I have 10 scrapped spaces now, that gives me the 7 victory points on sourcing expert since I got to that first. So 7 victory points on the objective. Okay. So now we're all done with that event. I'm expecting a war event to be coming up soon. So let's see what our next event is. Indeed, it is the war event in Stage 2, Border Conflict. Advance to the deployment line, then resolve a war against each neighbor using the sections immediately below the deployment line. Now, Unlin, Evelyn smirked as she hailed the Viscount's heavy cruiser. Looking to bring history to life, are we? She gave the signal, and the Benthic's railguns whirred to life. So that brings us over to warfare, where now I'm going to be advancing the deployment line up to the first dotted section. So I'll put the sheet down. It might be a little bit hard to see, but we're doing it like that. So then we use the section right below the line. They have a strength of, actually, is it the last crossed off or rightmost crossed out? Okay, so I actually did that vote all wrong because they were casting 1 vote. So the Automa has a strength of 4 in this case on the war event. So I'm crossing the rest of those out. Unfortunately, I have a strength of 4 as well, and I lose ties in this game, so that gives me the -1 victory points on warfare, which is unfortunate, but yes. This means the AI's strength is used for both wars. So yeah, I would have to be, actually, I would have to be at or above that to be able to win. Or to be able to, I'd have to be above that. Compare strength. Okay, so a tie, so both players cross out both of the left strength box assets. They neither win or lose the war. So because we're equal, hang on. That actually means I don't get the -1 victory points. So both of those get crossed out. So I don't get access to either one of those. But now, coming back up to warfare, now anything below the deployment line is no longer relevant for the game. Everything is going to be starting to move up. So you can see the importance of managing the warfare there carefully. All right, and then our next card is Relics Rediscovered. Zwanjay was practically beaming with pleasure, though none would ever know it. Their research had borne fruit. The vault was precisely where it was thought to be. A green... let's take a green over to... Let's take a green over to navigation. And then I can use the green die on this sheet to explore. So I'm going to explore down to this empty system. Let's see. I also have a pink focus asset, which I think I am going to spend here because the AI is very close to Rex. In fact, a single green roll means they're going to get to Mechatol Rex. So I think here we are going to spend the pink focus die so I can pay attention to it while I'm on Rex, or while I'm on navigation. So similar to how I can pay attention to the blue focus die when I'm on industry, I can now pay attention to the pink while I'm on navigation. And we're rolling the dice again. Okay, so that's a double blue, that's a double green, which is actually good for us because it means they're working toward expansion and not making progress toward Rex. N is actually the pink and the blue dice aren't going to do anything for them, which is also very fortunate. We do have the 2 victory points. No, we don't. All right, so what we can pay attention to is that roster. We've got 3 explorers and a claim. They might be a little bit hard to read. So I think we're going to go explore, explore, explore. Then we are going to claim, we're going to claim this technology asset, which will bring me back over to industry to mark off there, and I unlock another trade good. All right, so that's it there. This should be the trade event coming up next. And it is redefine trade routes. Claim a trade good on industry for each unlocked +1 trade good icon in your industry chart. Station Master, Kier said, fidgeting nervously. We can't just show up expecting cargo. These routes have been dead for centuries. Artuno smirked. See to it that they are reinstated, then. The memorial will accompany you if necessary. The Nomad's coffers will be filled. So moving over to industry, I can now, since I have 3 +1 trade good icons marked, I can now mark off 3 trade goods. And I can spend a trade good as a resource of any type. And anything unspent is worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. So I'm marking off 3 trade good assets. All right, that's it there. Now we are in stage 3. So let's see what our first card is in stage 3. Border Defense, giving us 2 blue resources. Connor radioed command. You're right, it was nearly impenetrable. Moments later, the shield's pylons came crashing down, useless. Let's see, with 2 blues, I could make Warfare active and put out another PDS right away, which with a strength of 2 already coming into this war for the AI would not be a terrible idea. So I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make Warfare active, and I want to try to get my hands on another pink focused asset. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use those 2 blue resources to spend and put a PDS on this side of the war. We'll mark that down. And then I've got a population asset, which lets me go up on the expansion track. So I'll bring this up to expansion so you can see Jester. On expansion, there's a population track. Whenever I claim an asset with that mark on it, I mark off the next victory point to go up that population track. All right, so now that I've made warfare active, I don't think I have another focus asset yet that I can spend to pay attention to a die on here. So they'll give this a roll. Okay, so the Automa, unfortunately, is going to get to Mechatol Rex before we can. So I'll mark that off on the Mechatol Rex sheet. All right, then they're gaining strength in the war and votes on the agenda. Which means, well, I don't get to pay attention to any of the focus dice while I'm on warfare. So all of those can go away. I've got 2 green resources and a blue. So I think I think I'll use the 2 green to work on transit diodes, which gives me an option of every time I make that sheet active, I can deploy 2 infantry. Each infantry must be adjacent to another unit and can be deployed below the deployment line. And then the blue I will use to deploy infantry, which I'll deploy an infantry on this population asset to go up the population track on expansion again. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to claim 1 more asset node to get the bonus on secured assets. Our next card coming up. Bustling Economies. This is another production event. Gain 1 trade good on industry for each unlocked +1 trade good icon in your industry chart. Karth breathed in the familiar air of Silver Sands. Home. Were it that he never had to leave. So that will give me another 3 trade goods. 1, 2, 3. And then looking at stage 3 once again, we will find maximum yield with 3 pink resources. The harvest of Ordinian was so complete that even the planet's core was depleted. The Necro left nothing usable. Only its lifeless shell remained. Let's see, so with pink, with 3 pink, I think we're going to make... Let's make navigation active, even though we can't claim Rex for the bigger victory point reward. We can still claim it for something. So we'll go pink, pink, and we've got 1 more spend here. We will go explore up there. And then because I have the pink focus die unlocked, I can pay attention to it while I'm on navigation. All right, they've got a double green, double blue, and a single pink. So they're getting stronger heading into the war. I don't get access to the green or blue dice. And I think I will spend my planet. I probably should have done this way long ago. I'll use that to give me a planet so I can get a green focus die asset, which means I can spend that somewhere to pay attention to the green focus die. And I think we'll sit on that for now. I haven't decided where I'm going to spend that green focus die yet. Right now, though, I've got 3 explorers and a claim, which I will go 1. Let's go 2, 3, so I can work toward this neighbor asset system. And then I've got a claim, which will be Mechatol Rex. So because I got there second, I get to fill in my faction. And then because I got there second, I get 4 victory points and 2 votes, which I could spend those 2 votes now to pay attention to either of those focus dice while I'm on this sheet, which honestly would not be a completely terrible idea. So I think I will spend those 2 votes so I can pay attention to the blue focus die. I want to get a couple claims here. So I got 4 victory points for Rex. Now I've got 2 claims. So I will go... Let's go... Claim. That gives me another planet, which I will use that immediately so I can grab a... Let's grab a pink focus die asset from expansion. Like I said, I still haven't decided what sheet I want to make active, or what sheet I want to spend those on to pay attention to focus dice there. Let's move over to stage 3, our next card. When diplomacy fails, this is a problem. Advance the deployment line, then resolve another war against each neighbor, yada yada yada. The lead ship's sensors exploded in an array of alarms and damage alerts as an entire fleet poured forth from the wormhole, raining destruction upon the unsuspecting convoy. So that brings warfare in. We'll make that active, or we'll advance the deployment line. The AI's strength in the war is 4, so those are gone. We draw the war here, which I didn't want to have happen. We have a 1 over here, though, so we do lose that war, which gives us the -1 victory point asset from that war. So that's it for that war event. That was a problem. And now we're on to our next card, which is Technological Frontier with a green resource. Another jolt from the machine surged through Rin's limbs. It no longer bothered her. She was changing, not just mentally, but physically as well. So with a single green resource, I think we'll go ahead and make... Let's go ahead and make Warfare active here. Mostly because that green resource will actually finish off transit diodes. So now every time it's active, I can deploy 2 infantry, but I have to make them adjacent to another unit and can be deployed below the deployment line. What do I have for focus assets now? I've got a green and a pink. Huh? Let's spend a green or pink asset to be able to pay attention to the pink die while I'm on warfare. And we're rolling dice. All right, the blue gives them more voting strength in the next agenda. The pink doesn't do anything for them. And the green is now giving them progress toward warfare. So I don't get to pay attention to the blue or the green focus dice unless I spend a vote, which I don't have to spend right now. So I could build another cruiser, which I think I will go ahead and do. So I'll spend the pink resources here, which will give me a victory point. I'm going to deploy the cruiser here. That will give me another population asset on expansion. And it'll give me a victory point on... And it'll give me the objective of claiming 6 asset nodes, because I just claimed my 6th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I get 5 victory points from the objective, which means that one's done. Let's see. And now with transit diodes, actually I'll use the blue resource to deploy an infantry here on the population track. Let me go up that again on navigation. And then with transit diodes, I can deploy 2 infantry. So I'll deploy the infantry here. and here. What I'm doing with them is I'm deploying them next to my cruiser. That's how that'll work. And here's our next stage 3 event. This should be our council event coming up. And it is partisan maneuvering. So we're claiming votes again, and then we're voting on the stage 3 agenda. The Titan stared silently as the other diplomats argued. These small creatures, always squabbling, always grasping for more. Her thoughts drifted to the UI, to home, and she sighed audibly. All right, so because I have 4 counselors unlocked here, that gives me 4 votes. The AI is casting at least 3 votes, but let's see what the agenda is first. So we'll bring these stage 3 agenda cards into shot. We'll give these a shuffle. And a cut, and here's our first agenda. First up, on industry, each player may scrap any 2 spaces or claim any 1 space. The space must contain a commodity, and that's got the star next to it, which means I have to find an agenda that doesn't have a star next to it. So next up, that one won't work. And, okay, automated worker ban. On expansion, each player crosses out 4 unclaimed population assets. Well, I could just cross off from the top, but I would really love either 2 scraps or a claim, and it has to be a commodity space. So, well, anything has to be a commodity space. The Autumn is casting 3 votes plus a die. So I think I will go ahead and spend all 4 of my votes into this. And then we'll see how many dice the Autumn is, how many votes they're casting on this. Blue says they're casting 1 vote, so we get the fail, which means on navigation, on expansion, I'll cross off the 4 at the top, since I don't think I'm getting there anyway. And then that's done, and we're now into stage 4. And those can head toward the box. Is everything with the game making sense so far, Jester? I know I'm kind of flying through it a little bit. So feel free to stop me if you have any questions while you're watching. Stage 4, or anybody else for that matter. Stage 4 is rightful claim with 2 blue. The brood swarmed around the planet, a single tendril-like formation made entirely of Norse ships. This planet would be home to a new generation of warriors. Let's see, with 2 claims, let's take that over to... Well, that would be 2, that's 2 blue resources. Let's take that over to... I'm doing good explaining things. Thank you for the kind words. Trying to keep up with it all. Again, if anything doesn't make sense with what I'm doing, feel free to stop me Feel free to stop me, and I will walk you through it. You might have to point out what you're wanting me to explain, since there is a little bit of a delay on chat. So what sheet do I want to make active with 2 blues? That would give me 2 claims on navigation. Really does not do much for me on expansion. It would be 2 claims on industry as well, and potentially a PDS on warfare, which they have 2 strength coming into this war, so I think I do want to make warfare active. So I'll bring warfare into shot. With 2 blue, I will go ahead and spend to build a PDS, and I'm going to put that over here. And then with transit diodes, well, let me see what else I do with this before I decide where I'm putting the 2 infantry from transit diodes. Okay, so the double green gives them progress on expansion. The pink gives them more war strength, so I definitely made a good decision by making warfare active. And the blue gives them another vote on the agenda. So I don't pay attention to the green or the blue dice, but I do get to pay attention to everything else. Which, is not great. But I can spend a trade good if I want to finish my last cruiser, and I think I do. So I'll spend a trade good on industry, so I can use that as a pink resource and be able to build my last cruiser. That one I'll put that up here to give me 2 victory points. And then the transit diodes, I have to go adjacent to another unit. So I'll put one here, since it is adjacent to the PDS technically, even though it's up in the next war. And then the other one, they have 5 strength, so I'll put that one in here. Actually, do I want that one, or do I want another blue focus die asset? I think we are actually going to deploy that infantry into the blue focus die war. Because yes, the yellow technology would be good, but we're not really doing anything with that here. We still have the agenda and the war events coming up in stage 4. This should be one of those. Oh, we still have the production event too. Actually, we had the... Oh no, we had the stage 3 agenda event. So this is the production event. 148S, actually that's probably I-48S, surveyed the new installation, taking note of several routines he already planned to improve upon. The new processes increased output by nearly 11%, and with a little work, he was sure the enhancers could increase efficiency by another 4%. So that'll bring me back over to industry once again. And once again, with 3 + 1 trade good icons marked, that gives me another 3 trade goods. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Our next event, desperate measures with 3 pink. There was no joy when the orders were received to Glass Ori Bay. It meant that the L1 had already done their worst. There was nothing left to save. So 3 pink is now basically dead weight on warfare at this point. So... And we're not doing much with... We don't have an explore... We don't have a claim on a navigation right now. So I think here we are going to... I think here we're going to industry. So on industry, we're going to go... We've got it's 3 scraps right now. So we're going to go... I want to make sure I've got access to at least 1 blue commodity on this turn. So let's go scrap. Scrap. And I can pay, and while I'm on industry, I can pay attention to the blue die. I do have a green focus asset that I could use if I want to pay attention to the green die as well. And I think I do actually, because on this sheet, that's equal to more claims. So I will spend it to pay attention, to be able to pay attention to that die on this sheet. So let's see what we pull for a roll. As the green die nearly goes falling down the back. Okay, so we've got a double blue on industry for the AI, double green as they make their way on expansion, and a double N making progress on navigation. So the only die we don't get to pay attention to is the pink focus die. We've got We're coming out of this with 2 scraps and a total of 5 claims. The question is, can we even make 5 claims? And I think the answer to that is very easily going to be yes. So we are going to make a claim on this double triangle asset, which on industry will work on my industry chart. So that'll give me 2 more of those and another victory point. So that was my first claim. So that claim is done. Then I've got 2 scraps. Let's go. Excuse me. Let's go scrap. Excuse me. And then I've got 4. Okay, so my scraps are done. I've got 4 more claims. Let's go. We'll claim a blue focus dye asset. Then we'll claim. Let's claim a blue commodity. That'll give me another victory point on industry. I'll claim a yellow circle commodity, which will give me access to A, another trade good, and B, another victory point. So that's 2 claims done, and I've got 2 left, which is going to be... what is it going to be? Well, I know I'm going to spend the blue focus die so I can pay attention to the blue die on navigation. So we've got 1 more claim left, which I think is going to be... we're going to claim a green focus die asset, which I can spend to pay attention to that die on any sheet. Which... Let's... I kind of caused myself problems here because all I'm going to be doing when I make warfare active is deploying about 20 million infantry. But let's see what happens on our next event. I'm expecting this to be, well, this should be either one of the events. Let's see what we get here, though. Divide and Conquer. We've got the war event. The warnings came too late for the Hylar. When an investigator from the universities arrived weeks later to survey the carnage, naught was left but smoldering craters. The Gashly's message was clear. So that brings warfare back to being active. We advance the deployment line. Then we check our war strength. So the AI's got a war strength. The AI's got a war strength of 5 because that's what's currently crossed off here. I know it's a little bit hard to see with the focus of this camera being what it is, but I'm trying to explain this as well as I can. So the AI's got a strength of 5. On the right side of the war, I've got a strength of 5 as well, so we don't win the war. On the other side, though, I've got a strength of 6, which means I win, and that gives me access to another blue focus die asset. So now I've got my options starting to open up to me a little bit. But now we're in the last stage of the war, so we'll be using this deployment line, or this deployment section when the last war event comes up in stage 5. All right, and then coming to our next event, this should be a strategy event, and it is Forbidden Knowledge. Baal watched as one by one, each of the settlements went offline. He was not some fool to be laughed at. Who was laughing now? All right, let's go up to exploration, or navigation, I should say. And then that is going to be good for an explore. So I will explore to the left side neighbor asset system. And then on here, we get to pay attention to the pink and blue focus dice. All right, so the green gives them access, gives them progress on warfare, which they would claim, except we already got that one. The blue makes their next agenda stronger, so we're probably not clearing that in a million years. And then the double pink gives them progress on navigation. So as I mentioned, the only die we don't get to pay attention to is the green focus die. Coming out of this, we've got 4 explorers and 2 claims, which is going to be... actually, how many does that put me at for consecutive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if I'm going to try to get Collector and have 12 consecutive claimed systems, I think I'm going to have to start from down here. 9, 10. Okay, so we need to start making some connections here. I'm going to use the Explorers first. So let's go Explore, 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 Explore. So the explorations are done. And then I've got 2 claims. So with those, let's go. Or if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go. Let's go claim to give me 4 more victory points. Okay, so everything's done there. This next event should be the agenda event, and it is the limits of diplomacy. So we're claiming 4 votes once again. Zeu closed her eyes and listened for a moment as her guests gasped for air, collapsing one by one as the poison took them. Such is the beauty of the Nalu, she thought. So once again, I'm coming over to industry because I've got 4 counselors unlocked here. I claim 4 votes. And now we're voting on the agenda. The problem here is that the AI is already way over top of me in terms of the number of votes that they're casting, because they're already guaranteed to cast 5 plus a die. So there's no way I'm going to be able to vote over. There's no way I'm going to be able to cast enough votes to get over top of them. So what I'm drawing for right now is to drool over a pass and get domed by the fail. So looking at this, on expansion, each player crosses out all unclaimed assets on one planet. They must choose an unlocked planet that has at least 2 unclaimed assets if possible. Well, joke's going to be on them because I haven't touched expansion this game. And every player claims 1 trade good on industry for every 3 population assets they've claimed. I'm not going to bother voting on that because at this point of the game, my votes are probably more valuable to me in being able to pay attention to focus dice. So I'm not going to spend anything there. The Automa is casting 5 plus 1 is 6 votes. So we don't have any unlocked planets, which means the joke's on them. So those can all go back to... So that means that we don't get affected by that event. So everything now can go back to the box. I'll go ahead and put all of these away. And then we are... It's off shop, but we are in stage 5. There's a card in here that just says end the game. Well, essentially end the game. So let's see what we pull up here for stage 5, our first stage 5 card. Girded for war with 3 pink. Nothing beats the tireless determination of the Zacha. Even the L1Z1X begrudgingly acknowledge their almost supernatural perseverance. Well, I think the only choice I have right now is to make warfare my active sheet. And unfortunately, all I'm doing right now is deploying about 5 million infantry, especially when they've got a strength of... Especially when they've already got a strength of 4 coming in. So the pink... So all three of the pink resources are going to deploy infantry. So 1, 2, and 3. I also have transit diodes to make to be able to deploy 2 more infantry adjacent to my cruiser, because that's the only unit I've got up here. And we're rolling dice. All right, the double pink gives them progress on navigation. Green has them making progress now toward expansion, which they will get. And the reason they're getting progress on this track instead of this track is because this track is completed now, and it specifies that when you roll the single green asset, then you now treat it as a double green and make progress on this track. So that's done. We've already marked off progress for navigation and progress toward industry, which they unlock as well. And then we pull the blue and green focus dice out of shot. Although I will actually spend 2 votes so I can pay attention to the blue focus die as if it was unlocked. Although I could just unlock... Actually, let's spend a green focus die to pay attention to it on warfare. So I get to bring both of those back into shot. What that's translating to, unfortunately, is a total of 8 infantry, which could be helpful if we... Well, let's see. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I've got transit diodes since I've got warfare active. Those have to go around my unit. So I'll put 1 on each side of the cruiser. All right, and then our next card is going to be our last one for the game, a throne for the taking. Resolve a war against each neighbor using the final sections. Then score your sheets and determine the new ruler of the galaxy. Sufi-An watched from a safe distance as the payload fell, the glow from the bombardment illuminating her cockpit. Eventually, it would become too dangerous for her to remain, but for now she would observe. So the AI now has a strength of 4 coming into this war, and I'm pretty sure we're going to clear them over top of both sides. So we total up my strength. On the left side, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strength. So that gives me the 3 victory points on that side. And then on the right side, that's technically a filled in dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which gives me another 3 victory points. And then, as it says, score your sheets and determine the new ruler of the galaxy. In this case, we're looking at a beat the high score, which I'll show you that once we total everything up. So now we're going to go through each sheet. So on warfare, we come to the top section of the sheet. On warfare, we check the objective. We managed to complete that before the AI did, so that gives us 5 points. Then we total up victory points from everything on the sheet. So for positive victory points, I had 1, 2, 3 from building the cruisers, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, let's total up positive first. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 18. Minus 1 for down here is 17. Which gives me a grand total of 22 victory points on warfare. Then moving over to industry, I did get the objective there before the automa could, so that's 7 victory points. These markers are atrocious for writing on, by the way, because it makes some of these numbers very hard to read. So 7 there, 8, 9, 10, well, that's going to be plus 1, 2, 3, 6, and then 1 victory point per 2 trade goods, per 2 unspent trade goods. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, which gives me a total of 21 victory points. Then on expansion, I went up 4 on the population track, but I didn't get the objective at all. So 0 plus 4 equals 4. And then on navigation, we didn't get the objective from that, I don't think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 8. No, we didn't get that objective. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope. So we didn't get the objective, which is 0 points, plus victory points from everything on the sheet, which is 4, 8. Yep, 8 points. And that's a total of 8. And now we total everything up. So 8, 30, 51, 55. So 55 total victory points. We were playing on easy difficulty, right? Yes. Okay, so 55 victory points on the solo 2-player rank. We go to where it's the lowest, or where it's lower. We go to where our victory points are higher than that. So easy 40 points. That's a footnote in galactic history. So the Nazroka Alliance ended up being forgotten in galactic history. And that will do it for this playthrough of Twilight Inscription. It's a good quick game if you're looking for a lightning quick fix of Twilight Imperium, because Twilight Imperium is very easily an all-day game, to the point where my local game group designates that as our twice-a-year game. We play that once in the summertime and again in the winter. And as a matter of fact, our winter game is coming up the Saturday after Christmas, right before the New Year, which is usually when we go to play that anyway, because that's when everybody's schedule happens to work out, because we're out of we usually play it around New Year's, because everybody's clear of holiday stuff at that point, unless anybody's going out for the new year. But I'm rambling, so let's wrap this video up. Hopefully, I'll get into one more game later tonight, unveiling one of my other testing projects that I'm doing, but we'll see about that. As far as what's scheduled on the channel, we're going to the Terra Mystica universe for a couple of videos tomorrow. As first up, we'll be playing Terra Mystica by Furlan Spiel, and in the afternoon, we'll be moving to the space version of that world as we play Gaia Project. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.